want to continue the conversation. Judge Andrew Napolitano, who served as a Superior Court judge in New Jersey, joining me right now. Judge, as Allison reported, some of these items date all the way back to his tenure in the Senate. That would be sometime between the 70s and 2009, and then from his time as vice president all the way up into 2017. I talked to a former federal prosecutor who said there could be no criminal charges against the president because of a statute of limitations being expired. Would you agree with that?
Well, no, I would not agree with that, because the possession of the documents, the statute of limitations doesn't start to run until he no longer possesses the documents. So the fact that he has had documents in his house for 20 years and the statute of limitations is 5 years, it depends on what they charge him with. If they charge him with the unlawful removal of the documents, yes, the statute of limitations has expired. If they charge him with the unlawful retention of the documents, the statute of limitations hasn't even started to run yet, because he retained them until Friday, when they were found. None of this is good for Joe Biden. However, I think it is unlikely that he will be prosecuted. And I can't make that statement definitively until we know, as your reporter just so nicely pointed out, Adrienne, what the level of marking is on the documents. In Donald Trump's case, they were NDI, National Defense Information. National defense information is always and everywhere unlawful for anyone to possess outside of a secure federal facility. Below NDI are 5 other levels of classification, some of which can actually be frivolous. They classify it as confidential, and the feds usually aren't concerned about that. So it depends on what the level of classification was and how many documents were there.
Well, there are some reports that some of these documents have ties to Ukraine, which would be interesting. I mean, this was prior to the war. We don't know exactly what that means, but could it be discovered that if these were national defense information documents, as you mentioned was the case with former President Trump, how would that impact President Biden?
Would make him a candidate for prosecution when he's no longer president. You know, the feds are not going to prosecute a sitting president. We know that from the Robert Mueller investigation of Donald Trump. The federal government has 3 memoranda, they're hundreds of pages each, on whether or not a sitting president can be prosecuted. 2 say no, 1 says yes, but the Justice Department, since the era of Richard Nixon, has consistently followed the 2 that say no. That doesn't mean that he couldn't be prosecuted after he leaves office. The other thing that the federal government, the DOJ looks at before they decide whether to prosecute is the level of cooperation of the potential defendant. In Trump's case, the feds will argue that he frustrated their efforts to get the documents. In Biden's case, the feds recognize that he did everything that he could reasonably to help them find what was there. You know, he's going to say, and he said it already, and I'm smiling a little bit because people say this about Joe Biden, he doesn't remember holding on to these documents. I think a lot of people probably agree with him that he doesn't remember. That's not a defense in court, but it is something, because you can be prosecuted for possessing national defense information with gross negligence. That was the charge against Hillary Clinton, which was never brought. But it is something that the government takes into account when it decides whether or not to prosecute. Was this an honest mistake, or did this person steal this stuff because he wanted to have it or he thought it was his own?
Well, and it's interesting because you look at a man who's been in some form of government office since the 70s. It's highly likely that he had documents moved around and lost track of them. As he said, he was surprised that these documents were found there. Judge Andrew Napolitano, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.